one of the things that I've noticed after the last few years in the industry, we've been speaking about AI on the edge, on our devices. There has been a concerted effort to bring the best models onto our handheld devices. However, there are limitations. Memory capacity being the big one, but also the support of inbuilt NPUs. Now, these are AI accelerators from anything from edge to TV to automotive to smartphone to PC. Limitations in the models they can support, into the quantization levels, into the accuracy involved in these things. So there is a concerted effort to bring these models to the end users because running at the edge is becoming ever more important. That's great. We can go run in the cloud anytime we like. There's almost infinite compute in the cloud, unless you want to buy a bunch of GPUs. But bringing that technology to the edge is important for not only security, being able to make sure that your data doesn't go off into a server somewhere in the cloud, but also immediate answers through those models on your device. Time to first token and how many tokens per second are becoming the de facto standard metrics in generative AI. However, the AI and machine learning space is more than just generative. Not only do we have large language models and stable diffusion making images, perhaps the one in this thumbnail maybe used some stable diffusion, but we have machine learning to do lots of things in lots of devices. Even something as simple as power management these days is optimized by machine learning. This is why you need stuff on device to help with battery life, to help with performance. The chips themselves are even designed with machine learning. We are coming to an end-to-end strategy across all the markets and all the semiconductor space. This is why I'm here and I've invited MediaTek to come along, because MediaTek is uniquely positioned in this space for having that end-to-end portfolio from edge to cloud to infrastructure to automotive to smartphone to laptops. Have I forgotten any? That's a good list. And they're doing it through this unique application of their NPU. They currently call it the APU, but we're going to get them to change that soon. And I'm going to speak to them about their story, how they're deploying it at scale, how they're bringing developers on board, how they're working with independent software vendors to enable artificial intelligence on devices from everything from the clock beside your bed to your mattress to your smart home TV to your electric vehicle to your smartphone to your PC and then whatever comes along. Joining me today is Finbarr Moynihan, GM of MediaTek's Global Marketing, but a veteran at the company for 15 years with a PhD in electrical engineering. But also joining me is Amy Guesner, the AVP of Strategic Partnerships in Compute, relatively new to MediaTek, but has 15 years experience in Altera and Intel PSG, with a master's in EEE as well. So my audience is fairly technical. They've heard of MediaTek, yet if I go speak to my parents or my friends, they probably use your devices, but they've never heard of you. So how big is MediaTek?
Yeah, so in 2023, we were just over $14 billion in sales. And I would say you're correct. In different geographies, we're more well known than in others, and across different market segments, such as smartphones, we're more well known than in other segments. But if your parents have a smart TV in their home, or an Amazon Echo, or other components like that, they're already using MediaTek devices. They just don't know that MediaTek is inside.
So is this kind of like a foundation of what is to become your AI strategy? The fact that you're in everything and this is, the buzzword of the day.
It definitely is. I mean, the AI technology that we utilize in our smartphones today, we're carrying that technology in our network processing unit that we use inside that device in our premium segment into other components, such as laptops, gaming modules, other household appliances, your TVs, kitchen appliances, pretty much anything today can actually utilize AI capabilities.
I think for a lot of people, AI is still very much, the buzzword. And it's getting to a point where we're hearing it more. It used to be IoT. If you remember a few years ago, people were talking about 50 billion IoT devices. Why why are we seeing this, sort of massive interest in AI in what could arguably the simplest things with a chip in?
Uh, I think you've got to kind of separate things out, right? I mean, we've had AI built into our chips for years, right? So, but it was probably what we would call traditional AI that maybe wasn't getting as much buzz as it's getting in recent years. But that's been doing a lot of things like enhancing images, making computational photography better, helping with voice assistance, making picture quality better on our TVs, things that just improve the overall experience for the consumer. Obviously, the recent buzz is with generative AI, which at least to me, is sort of magical technology still, right? So it has this kind of wonder factor. It's pretty compelling stuff. We're at the very early stages of that, I think, being deployed on edge devices. But it's sort of clear that it has enormous potential, and we, like everybody else, is trying to figure that out. And of course, it's already landed in smartphones. The same technology is going to get deployed into solutions, as Amy was saying, for a whole host of other products across our portfolio.
So is that one architecture that's going to go end to end? If I program something for a smartphone, it could work in something as small as a watch? Or
Yep. I mean, the performance may scale, but it's the same architecture, yes.
Correct.
So given the fact that you are a silicon company, and yes, you build platforms, and some customers may take the turnkey platform or they'll design their own thing, does that make talking about AI to a wider audience difficult?
Yeah, good question. I mean, obviously, we're more like the chipset or the ingredient that powers the end devices that the consumers experience. But I think for us, when we come to talk about AI, it's a couple of things, right? One, obviously, we build the silicon with the integrated neural processing engine, so the NPU. Obviously, there the focus is on delivering the best possible performance at the lowest possible power consumption with the architecture, the implementation, all the stuff we're known for. On top of that, then, of course, we deliver a software SDK for our customers to use if they're building in-house applications, or for developers to use if they're building applications. And that's about, again, abstracting the hardware, giving them the tools that can port the models, optimize the models, prune quantization, all that kind of stuff. And I guess the third prong of that now with the generative AI work is actually work that we have to do as well in optimizing the foundation models, the large language models, etc., for our hardware, right? So that then when developers come to write to those models, it's already sort of pre-tuned or pre-developed. So we're kind of building maybe the foundation for others to build the experience on top of.
So are you, fully invested in, say, the open source models, or do you end up having to create your own?
We're definitely using the open source models. So we're leveraging the large language models being developed by Google, being developed by Apple, Meta, etc., to be utilized on our devices. And I think what you'll find is as these language models are further optimized and really reduced in size so that they can be deployed on the edge, that you will be able to deploy generative AI in all sorts of consumer electronics that maybe you weren't able to previously, and do most of the compute on the edge and local to the device rather than having to go all the way back to the cloud like you do today.
But to clarify, really, our focus is not so much on building the models, like others are investing in that space. Ours is about deploying or enabling people to use the models, I would say.
So when we speak about, say, the latest Dimensity chipset using Llama 2 7 billion, that's more of a proof of concept for you, which then your customers have to go and optimize.
Yeah, someone's got to build an application on top of that, exactly. Yeah, that takes advantage of that.
So a lot of people are talking about what is the killer app for this. Please tell me you have an answer. Billion dollar question, or $1 trillion question, I should say.
I think there are going to be a lot of killer apps, right? Today on the smartphone, one of the apps I love is the Magic Eraser, right? Being able to remove items that I don't like in pictures, people I don't like in pictures. But I think productivity is going to be a large segment for generative AI. If I'm putting together a paper and I want to leverage multiple documents, being able to consolidate that or summarize it. Also, if I have large Excel spreadsheets and then I want to create charts or truly analyze the data in different methods, being able to do that. There's so many applications. I'm not sure that there's a killer AI, application, but I think there's going to be just a lot of advantages to using generative AI.
Do you see stuff like that actually coming to be running locally?
I do, especially the ones I kind of mentioned on being able to take a document and consolidate it, or Excel spreadsheet and put together charts. That can all be done locally. I would say if it's information that's not contained either on your particular device or in your organization's network, then yes, you would have to either have a hybrid environment or go directly to the cloud.
Maybe to build on what Amy said, I think, our view is that it's such fundamental technology, it isn't going to get pigeonholed into one thing, right? But I think we can sort of see some early trends, right? Like the productivity thing is clearly going to be there. Probably in computing devices, tablets, Chromebooks, some degree on phones perhaps. I think the phone experience is going to be a more personal experience, right? So it's going to be, some people are referring to it as like a smart AI agent, but something that sort of really understands your uses, your applications, your history, your what you do every day, and proactively and autonomously kind of get in and help with those. And this will get better over time, right? It also then has the advantage of everything personal to you staying on the device, of course. Of course, it's still going to the cloud, as Amy says, for the latest information, the applications, the actions that it needs to take. But I think the bones of that capability are already there today. We're just not quite seeing it yet.
So I'm actually, I'm actually one of the rare people that own a Dimensity 9300 device.
Yeah.
I actually paid with my own money to get a phone. It's now been my main phone for 3 days. The chip is good for other reasons, and I'm not just saying that. I've actually got numbers to back it up. The downside is it's from a Chinese vendor, so all the AI features are in Chinese.
Translate. Perfect application.
I wish it did live translate on the Chinese apps, but is that where you're seeing most of MediaTek's AI growth today? Because obviously my China audience isn't going to be massive. I mean, how much of YouTube can they actually access over there? So
I keep having to remind everybody, Dimensity 9300 launched in November, right? So we're not even sort of 6 months into its lifetime yet, right? And that was the first chip that we launched with really on-chip generative AI capabilities. But yes, it's in the mobile space. It's in the flagship part of the mobile space. The majority of our business in that space today is in China, although some of those OEMs are now expanding out into other markets, Southeast Asia, India, Europe. But the volume, I would say, the concentration today is still in China. And that probably then explains the ecosystem of AI developers, et cetera, that sort of developed around that.
So one of the other areas I was interested in, given what you guys have presented today at your analyst summit, is this ASIC business that you have, building custom silicon for people who want custom chips. Right. How much is the machine learning side influencing that part of the business?
It's definitely influencing it, especially as these.
How?
But the hyperscalers, when they develop out their data centers, they're looking to optimize on their platforms for their infrastructure, for their architecture. And in order to do that, they need custom silicon, right? So either from inference capabilities or training capabilities, networking capabilities, all of those are being done through custom silicon. They could utilize off the shelf, but then that doesn't give them the opportunity to differentiate, optimize for power, optimize for performance. So yes, custom silicon is being heavily used, and you're seeing large resourcing going into hiring engineers to do custom silicon at each of these companies.
So, but is that silicon positioned to either be the compute behind any machine learning workloads, or is it more for, say, the infrastructure to enable machine learning workloads? Where are you seeing your business?
I think it can be both. Yeah.
It can be, but where is it today?
Today it would be more on the infrastructure side.
Okay, that's where MediaTek traditionally played.
Correct.
So how do you see that shifting over time? Because I know you guys are trying to promote this business a bit, and I want to hear you guys talk more about it. I'll annoy you as much as possible about it.
Custom models, or the secret sauce of these companies, they're not necessarily sharing that with us, right?
Okay.
They will black box it and send it to us in order for us to then add connectivity around it, or memory, right? Connect it to memory. So those type of IP blocks we do add, but I would say as far as the large language models or the AI capabilities for training and inference, they're doing themselves, and they're keeping it in-house. Yeah.
That's their
That's their
differentiation.
secret sauce. Yeah.
So we were discussing earlier, right now, from MediaTek's portfolio perspective, most of the machine learning capability is in the smartphone, but it's going to be coming end-to-end. What would you, I guess the question is, what are the next verticals to be attacked with this feature?
Well, smartphones, I think, will very quickly, you'll see it in tablets and Chromebooks and other types of computing devices. So
that's the Compagno?
Yeah, Compagno line of products.
Yep.
So that leverages a lot of the mobile core IP very, very naturally, right, into Android and Chrome. Again, a lot of those SoCs, a lot of that architecture scales very nicely into sort of the IoT platforms. And again, we're seeing a lot of demand for AI capability for a whole host of applications there. Different, but obviously on another very important kind of high performance computing trend is sort of automotive platforms, which we've launched now with our partnership with Nvidia, a whole bunch of smart cockpit solutions. Those are obviously going to bring huge capability for AI and generative AI into the cockpit inside of the car for a whole host of use cases.
That's for the in-car entertainment, isn't it?
In-car infotainment, interaction with the driver, large language models, voice interactions while you're driving, all of the you could almost say in cabin rather than in cockpit car experiences. Yeah. Obviously ADAS is something different. We're talking about the cockpit solutions.
And that's a partnership with Nvidia.
Correct.
Yeah. So that partnership with Nvidia, right? You were showcasing it at Nvidia GTC. How has that come about? Because Nvidia does AI day in, day out, right? So I guess the answer is, why would they partner with a MediaTek? Why wouldn't they go do it themselves? What do you bring to the table?
I think when you look at the automotive market holistically, I think we complement each other very well. Nobody needs to explain NVIDIA's chops in AI, in GPU, and graphics, etc., right? However, MediaTek has a lot of capability in low power compute, right? In terms of driving displays, when you think about our business in TVs, think about our business in tablets, Chromebooks, etc., we drive a lot of displays out there, right? So in terms of picture quality, video, display management, we have a lot of capability. Then you sort of take back a little further, telematics, Wi-Fi connectivity is again a huge part of the overall portfolio for the automotive going forward. Again, that's something we bring to the table. So when we sort of looked at it, I think the two companies' CEOs looked at it, they saw that actually there's an awful lot more synergy here than actual overlap, right? We will now drive the smart cockpit roadmap forward with Dimensity Auto Cockpit. Of course, Nvidia is focused on the ADAS solutions up and down the stack, and they have phenomenal technology for that. They bring, Drive OS software and a whole host of other assets to the partnership. But I think the companies feel that together we can deliver a better overall total solution to the car makers and to the car industry than we could as separate companies.
You guys have a keynote at Computex in a couple of weeks as we're filming this. 3 weeks, 4 weeks?
A month, yeah.
Yeah, and all the other companies that have major keynotes are going to lather on thick about AI PC. Will you be doing similar?
I don't know, maybe you should show up and find out.
It seems you're fully committed to the Chromebook ecosystem.
We are.
Even if I ask, I know you won't tell me about anything that might be Windows on ARM. The request is still out there, as I'm sure you're well aware. Again, another area that's probably ripe for machine learning integration. If you can you speak a little bit about how the developers come on board? Because I speak with AI hardware companies often about how they're implementing a developer strategy. Some of them do it open source, some of them rely on traditional frameworks, PyTorch, TensorFlow, Cafe. We got a small, briefest hint of it at the summit, but can you go into how you're enabling developers, and are you just doing it for customers, or are you enabling sort of this whole ISVs thing?
You've got to kind of go back in time, and again, it is, I would say, fairly concentrated on the mobile business for us, and maybe by definition then a little bit more concentrated in the China market today, but I think it'll scale. But it's standard interfaces, so all the ones you mentioned, Cafe, PyTorch, we support all of those through the NeuroPilot software development environment that I mentioned. So again, people can write to the standard interfaces. Remember as well, a lot of these developers started back in the day when it was AI for camera, AI for other capabilities. So again, they're used to the tools, they've been deploying them for years. Today, I think it's a combination of OEMs doing work in-house, so the phone OEMs themselves building applications in-house using our chips with the SDK, and also working with developers and third-party partners to bring other capability, also using the tools. So there's already a fairly vibrant ecosystem, I think, that has been developed. It's, of course, exploding right now with the Gen AI activity, bringing all new capabilities, how to target these models for new applications, etc., that we're still in the very early days of. But I would say it's a very standard interface type approach, nothing magical about it. We're not doing anything proprietary there. I mean, the tools are proprietary, but the interfaces are trying to be as standard and open as possible. And then it's about just running as fast as we can to enable it as fast as we can.
Is there any appetite for doing something perhaps similar to your competitors in having a dev kit that people can just go out and buy and use and build tools on?
In the IoT space, you may talk more about this.
Yeah, so we do offer developers kits. We offer developer tools in the IoT space using our Genio product of SoCs that also has the APU or NPU embedded into the device. So yes, we have that capability. And then we also have open source software that's available to our customers that they can use, SDKs such as Ubuntu, Linux, Android, and then of course you can add these models on top of it.
So NeuroPilot, I did have a small chance to look at the website. It's the first time I heard about it today.
So we've got some work to do.
Yes, yeah.
On the marketing side.
And it was described to me by one of your senior colleagues as also like an optimization platform.
So optimization, I guess, in the sense that that's how people would take models that they've developed, prune, quantize. We've got some memory compression capabilities for large language. So we more precisely, we have memory decompression on the chip. So the software environment compresses the model. We can do all the usual stuff that everybody does, pruning, quantization. But this gets you an extra savings of memory, and then the hardware decompresses it when it comes back in. So all that's done in the tools environment as well. So it is a tools environment as well as an SDK maybe.
Is the goal for MediaTek in this everything that we've spoken about? I mean, it's a large portion of the market we've spoken about. Is the idea here to be the leaders, the ones carving the way forward, or fast followers? You're number one in a lot of things and a lot of markets of what we've spoken about today. So I kind of want it to be you're the ones leading. You're the ones enabling a million developers.
Right. We definitely want to lead across these markets. And we have strong market share in many of these markets. So we're in a great position to do so.
Yeah, I would add, when you look at any of the connectivity technologies now, like 5G, satellite, RedCap, Wi-Fi 7, we're leading all of those, right? We're, I would say, increasing our in-house capability for high-performance computing, right? You see some of that already, in the mobile space, but we're talking about going much further. When you look at what we're, targeting for automotive, ASIC, enterprise, cloud kind of business, that's definitely an area of focus that we are investing heavily in to close those technology gaps. But yeah, absolutely, the goal is to be global technology leader across the spaces.
I know you guys have said, growth, especially in Southeast Asia and Europe, and eventually you'll be coming to the US en masse. In the smartphone side, you're already here in IoT. Does the fact that MediaTek is a Taiwanese company, even with a strong rest of world contingent, does that make any of that growth difficult?
I don't think it does. We're not seeing that as a challenge today, and we are investing in supply resiliency, right?
Okay.
And making sure that we support dual fab strategies, dual OSAT strategies that will be required moving forward. And once we have that in place, our customers are not.
Yeah,
not having an issue with
our engineering resources are global, right?
Right.
So
Yeah.
Taiwan, Singapore, China, India, Europe, US, we have large R&D sites. We're certainly adding strategically in the US, senior people, senior technical people. But I haven't seen it as an issue either. Maybe even it's an advantage.
Right.
It's you did mention today that you're a strong partner with Intel on manufacturing, on Intel 16 especially. TSMC is your main partner for the high performance silicon, and then you're also leveraging a mix of TSMC and Intel and other OSATs on the packaging. Is there a future where you may use Intel for the leading edge, or Samsung was mentioned today as a manufacturing partner? It's I think a lot of people are interested to hear where the interest is. Some of the areas of tightness, right? CoWoS at TSMC especially. So you've got Intel coming up with EMIB, and the fact that you guys are, in this open named person as part of Foundry, I think people are interested to hear about how's it going, and is the future bright?
With Intel or with?
Yes, and across the board.
Okay, across the board, we evaluate all of our fab partners to see what technologies work best with which applications. It really depends on the device and the requirements that we're trying to meet with our silicon.
That's the PR answer. What's the T? Is that mostly like the ASIC business when you have a client that requires fully onboard US soil manufacturing and packaging, or do you do any government work?
Some government work,
Okay.
but I would say mostly we're talking about maybe automotive.
Okay.
Or medical or other applications that they truly just want something that's local.
Do you see any anything from the machine learning side that may be geo-locked in the same way to keep it? I think they call it like sovereign data and sovereign models, right?
Nothing that I'm aware of at the moment.
No, not from your business side. Okay. So we've been speaking a lot today. Again, Analyst Summit, you guys give us a breadth of how the business is, and a lot of it is machine learning. If everybody in your audience were to take over one thing from our discussion, what would it be?
I think that MediaTek is at the center of this AI wave that we're on. We're clearly going to be an enabler of AI adoption across all of the client edge devices that we talk about, from smartphones, computing devices, automotive, et cetera, But also, I think what people may not know is the position we have in enabling this to adopt in the cloud as well. You may have something different.
Yeah, I would say the same thing. I would say our strength at the edge and in connectivity, and making sure that all the significant amount of data that's at the edge that's being transported back to the cloud is important. So we have everything at the edge, we have the connectivity to the cloud, and then in the cloud, having the custom silicon capability and the offering that we're providing there really completes the path from edge to cloud, all with MediaTek. And I think we're one of the only suppliers who can provide silicon across that.
I did hear very small numbers of people who could enable this. So I think we're all going to be watching very closely to see where the silicon is. And if I can leave you with one request, it's the nature of your business is that you don't speak about clients unless the clients want to speak.
Correct.
Convince them otherwise. Please. Thank you so much for taking time out to be on the channel. And good luck.
Thank you.
Thank you.